Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Living from the Heart. My name's Helen Cornby and today I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about keeping up appearances. If you live in the UK, you may well remember the, what was it, a series, wasn't it, a comedy, is it Patricia Rutledge? I can't remember her name, but it was called Keeping Up Appearances. Her name was spelt Mrs. Bucket, but she liked to pronounce it Mrs. Bouquet because it gave a greater, that impression of somebody that's perhaps more than what they perceive themselves to be. And I suppose the discussion I wanted to bring to you today was on the back of me remembering a discussion that somebody brought to me maybe a few years ago now, and it came as a little bit of a surprise to me that it was somebody who had experience of me in my work. If you're watching this, hello, I'm sure you'll realise who you are, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this story. But it was a story of when I was what was considered a professional as a physiotherapist. Somebody worked with me, and their perception at that time of me was that I'd got it all. Obviously, I was in a qualified position as a physiotherapist. So I worked as part of a team, but I also delegated tasks to other people. And I suppose a certain sort of order, hierarchy that's within the National Health Service. And it's very top heavy within the National Health Service within certain sectors. And I suppose what this person said to me at the time was that she thought I had everything, that because I came into work, I was so smiley and perceivably happy, that she felt I had everything going for me. And I think there was a certain amount of respect, I don't know there, that, I was somebody who, I must obviously pass my exams in order to get that position. I'd worked my way up into a certain position, but they were perceiving me from their perspective, possibly of not seeing the amazing aspect of themselves at that point. And a lot of it is about us comparing ourselves to other people. And why do we compare ourselves? Because we often talk down to ourselves. We often look down at ourselves, and that negative feeling that we have about ourselves can create extremes in us. It can sometimes create us into this person where we make our smells very small. Did I say smells? We make ourselves very small, and to the extreme of timidity. Or we can maybe overcompensate because we haven't got this real sense of ourselves. We're not very steady in ourselves. We're not comfortable with ourselves. So it's always like we're sort of on this constant seesaw effect of trying to find that balance of how we feel about ourselves, how we perceive ourselves. So we could go from this place of being quite timid, which was an example I'd been shown in my life, to this place of somebody who could maybe come across as quite there might be a bit of an aggressive element there. There might be an element of being overconfident. There might be, it's almost like we're sort of testing the waters with ourselves, but it can take us a lifetime if ever we get to that point of feeling comfortable with ourselves. So it took me back a bit, really, that somebody saw me in this light, that because I got this constant smile on my face and that I came in sort of, as the happy person, that I had everything going for me. And to be honest, if I was to look on the inside, that was for the furthest truth that could ever be. I never really saw, and I have to hold my hands up, it's a constant process of having to work on myself. Whether you see me as anything less by actually admitting to that, but it's the truth that I'm always having to work on myself because of how I grew up, because of the examples that I've been shown in my life, because of the people around me. That energy is still with me. It's a bit like how we feel about money. Those blocks can stay with us for a lifetime, and we're constantly having to work away, clear away those blocks to be able to live our most joyful life, our most abundant life. So I suppose what I'd trying to explain that a little bit more to anybody who's watching this is, please don't compare yourself to somebody else, because more often than not, how you perceive them to be may well not be the true case within. And I suppose I'd learned that I wasn't conscious of it. A lot of the time I'm far more conscious of my behaviours and the things that I do and the way that I think and speak to myself. But it was almost like I'd been shown this example in life of having to be the Mary Poppins. It's all right, I've got this, I can do this. As long as I go out there with a smile in my face, trying to help everybody else, I'm the good little girl, I'm the good little woman, I can do everything else. But there comes a point, what about me? What about you? Oops, it's fine. It's fine as being there for other people. Life is about love and compassion, kindness and caring. But when we do that to an extreme of where we neglect our own needs, then there's a major imbalance that's at play. And we might be able to survive in that mode for long enough, but soon the cracks will appear. So I suppose a lot of these videos that we're bringing out, what living from the heart really means is about bringing balance to your life, becoming more aware of who you are, where you've learned from, who you've learned from, as to how you show up in the world, and maybe clearing some of those negative aspects. Because have a think about it. Do you always put everybody else first? When are you going to start and take a look at yourself? When are you going to start and look in the mirror and actually treat yourself as if you were speaking to your best friend? You would never speak to your best friend how you actually spoke to yourself, would you? Yeah, obviously there are times when you can maybe not come across as quite the best person, and that tends to be when the cracks are showing. But on the whole, I'm just having a look at my notes to remind myself here. It's it's about bringing that balance back into your life. Filling, that saying about filling your own cup. You don't have to keep up appearances. All people really want is for us to be authentic. You cannot show up in an authentic manner if you are not being truly authentic with yourself. And that might mean taking a step back in life, having a really good look at who you are and how you feel about yourself, and looking at ways as to how you can start to treat yourself better. What circumstances around you are making you put somebody else first? What elements of control are there that's, if somebody doesn't feel quite right about themselves, it can be very, very easy for them to project that lack of self-worth, their sense of lack of control, onto somebody else who they feel they might be able to control. Anyway, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but yeah, excuse me. Stop comparing yourself to somebody else. It's a very destructive energy, is that, and it can lead to you making yourself feel quite ill and negative about yourself. And cut yourself some slack. I was listening to somebody the other day, And she made me realise that it's not just us. Most people actually do this. Most people are generally sort of attacking themselves on one shape or form, and that the source of that can come from so many sources: how we've grown up, the people we've had around us, the educational systems we've been in, culture, religion. It might not just be about this lifetime, it's a passing on of those energies. So please, the message I want to get across to you today: stop comparing yourself. Start and fill your own cup. Even if it feels like you're having to fake it until you make it, start something. Even if you look in the mirror on a morning and say hello to yourself, and maybe think, if this was my best friend, if this was somebody in need in front of me, if this was the person I was going to help in my place of work, would I be looking at them and telling themselves they look awful? Would I be talking negatively to them? You'd be listening to them, and you'd be kind, you'd be caring, you'd be compassionate, you'd be encouraging them. Can you bring that to yourself? Can you start and treat yourself in that same way? So we don't have to keep up appearances. It's sort of like, yes, we can be happy, we can live life from joy, but sometimes if you're looking at somebody else and comparing yourself and thinking they've got it all, there may well be a very different story internally running within that person. So let's stop comparing ourselves, particularly as women, and let's start to pick out the good bits about ourselves, of which there are many. But when you start to compare yourself and see yourself somebody less than or not as good than somebody else, that's what competition has done in our world. It pits us against ourselves. It makes us doubt ourselves and put us in competition with somebody else. And then we start to attack ourselves with how we feel and think. Let's stop. That doesn't get us anywhere. Start to see the beauty in you. Start to see the good bits. What is it you do? What can you do? And give something back to yourself. Okay, thank you. I hope that's made sense. I do feel like I've prattled on a little bit, and that's me talking negatively to myself. So see, even I do it as well. And yeah, I can't wait to join you again on another episode of Living from the Heart. Take care, everybody. Speak to you soon. Bye.